Right. What's going on, Chris?
How we doing?
Thanks for coming on the show. This is awesome. I'm so excited about the show today that you guys are going to watch because it's one of my favorite people on the planet, my son Chris. We're going to talk a lot about with Mortgage Matters with the Galli Lama. So I'm going to warn you guys, I don't know if I'm going to get emotional, but sometimes I do. And if there's any guest here that could get me emotional, this would be the guy right here. So my son, Chris, and what we really want to talk about today, Chris, is we want to share with people kind of your journey as a kid that moving from a school, changing, friends and all that stuff that we're going to unpack in here and kind of what your experiences was as a kid. Because I think a lot of people out there that are planning on moving, not just here to Florida, but anywhere across the country, a lot of times one of their main concerns is their kids. And that was one of our main concerns, as you know. And we knew if we didn't move in 8th grade, it was going to be hard no matter what. We didn't want to move you in high school, but we figured if we could move you before you got to high school. But still, there was a transition there. There was things that were uncomfortable. That's one of the things we're going to unpack. We're also going to do a little bit about your passions, like what you did back in the Northeast for sports. And, you went to a small school, kind of the transition of a smaller school into like a school that's probably was, 4 times bigger?
Yeah.
At least,
about 4 to 5 times
bigger than where you came from. So that was a huge difference. And then also some of the lifestyle things that you find that you are able to do here, and maybe some of the things that you missed that you had up in the Northeast, because there's obviously family was a big thing, moving from family, but fortunately we have a lot of family that gets to come down. I want to know a little bit about, we're going to talk about high school history, like the high school experience for Chris. We're going to talk about, some of his passions. Now, as a pre-med student at FSU, we're super proud of you, with everything that you're doing with that. So I'm going to jump right in. So one of the things we want to start with is just, Chris, one of the biggest day of my life changed on April around 1 o'clock in 2005 when Chris was born. My whole life changed. It's in a whole different direction. Is that me? I'm ringing? Okay, someone was ringing. I'm sorry, guys. It throws me off. But from that day on, I knew my goal was, as a parent, as many of you parents that are watching this, was my main goal was to provide the best I could for my family, and at whatever cost. And at this point of our lives, back in 2018, we made a really pivotal decision that was going to change all of our lives. Right, we're going to move 1,500 or 1,300 miles away from where we're used to, and how is that going to affect you? So I want to start with the big move, Chris. Let's talk about that initial. Where were you in your head, that initial time when you learned that we were potentially going to be moving? I think it was the summer of 2018, and it was just, you were finishing up your 7th grade year, going into 8th grade. Talk about how you felt. Just kind of walk us through those feelings and those different emotions that you were having.
It's definitely hard at first, just having that tight group of friends, hanging out every day, playing soccer all the time. Just had that family over there. And just knowing that I was going to move was hard at first. So I was angry. I was angry at everything. And my friends didn't know at the time that I was moving yet. So they didn't know, but they were just had that idea, like I was always angry. I was upset, and I didn't know it at the time, but the move was probably the best thing for me, and definitely altered a lot of things about myself for the better. And it was definitely challenging at first. The move itself was challenging, especially moving to Florida. My first few months of 8th grade here in January, I got in a couple issues with a couple other kids, and it just wasn't a great time, and I wasn't happy at first. But then I started to make a couple friends in Florida, and then overall it just started to get better and brighter for me.
Yeah. Well, I remember that because, back home in Massachusetts, we had it was a very small little town, Charlton, Mass, and everybody knew everybody, right? And you played multi-sports. You pretty much, I think you were pretty much the captain of your soccer team all growing up. Basketball was another big sport for you. You ran cross country. You were able to do all these different sports without any issues of walking on the team, starting, playing. Then you come to a school where there's 600 kids in your class. It's a huge adjustment where you knew everybody in the school. I bet you knew everybody in your class back at home.
Yeah.
Like, not even in your class. You probably knew kids in the lower grades and the higher grades. You knew everybody. And the funny thing, well, it wasn't funny at the time, but I remember you coming home, and you never had gotten in trouble up at home. I don't even think you had a detention. I mean, you were a straight A student, National Honor Society, middle school. I mean, you checked all the boxes. You great athlete. You were a good kid. And you came down here, and you're right. There was, I think it was the same kid, right? On 2 different occasions.
2 different occasions, yeah.
And one funny story I'll share with everybody here is it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. Yeah. I think we weren't home. Your mom and I were out somewhere, and those kids came to the house looking for you. Yeah. And they were like outside the house, and I knew that we had to do something. I knew you were, you're a tough kid. You play sports, but the reality was you needed to know how to defend yourself and the importance of, no matter what, nobody should be able to put your hands on you. So I found a boxing gym. As some of you know that are watching, I boxed most of my whole life. And it was a very positive influence for me just to know how to defend myself. I went to many different high schools. I moved around a lot. So I got bullied a lot. So it was good to know how to protect myself. And I always felt confident enough that if I was ever in a situation, even back then when I was young, I could handle things if I had to. And I wanted you to have that same confidence. So I found the best boxing gym I could find in Sarasota. It was called Sarasota Boxing. Harold, I don't know if you're watching this, but if those of you who know Harold, he's a staple here in Sarasota, and we walked in, and he looked at us both, and he was all happy. He said, "You guys broke a record," he said. I remember looking at him like, broke a record? We just walked in here. We didn't even do it. We didn't even sign up yet. We're just starting. He's like, "Yeah, you guys are the first ever to come here from Butterfish Place," because that was our address that we lived in Lakewood Ranch, because, we were off of Martin Luther King Boulevard in Sarasota, which is, it's probably a rougher area in town in Sarasota. And I said, "Well, listen," I said, "I'm not from Butterfish Place." I said, "He is, and that's why we're here, because I want him to learn a little bit of something just to be able to, one, learn how to box. That's a passion of mine." And then what did we go there for, like a couple months? We did that.
Yeah.
I think I broke my foot at that point, right after 2 months, and then we stopped going for a little bit. But with that, you ended up getting in a little bit of a tussle with that kid at some point, which defending yourself was probably the best thing, right?
Yeah. And then overall got suspended for, a day for defending myself, which was rough because it cut me from the basketball team, and then I almost didn't make the flag football team because of that.
Correct.
And they had an issue because I was a new student there, and they put me in all the lower classes, and I don't know, treated me like an outcast almost. So at first it was rough, but then I started, lifting, working out, and I didn't want to ever feel that need to be bullied again or be scared of other people, what they would do. So
exactly,
I put on the size, and now people don't want to, have to mess with me.
Well, that's good. I mean, I remember when we first moved here, for those of you watching, a lot of people know our journey because they probably watch on social media. But when you were younger, you played for top tier soccer team and traveled all over the country to play. And that was, for me, your goal as a little kid, believe it or not, if you remember, was to be a professional soccer player. That's what you want to be. I was just following your dream. I was never the parent that was like, "You're going to play soccer." My goal was like, "Hey, do whatever you love. I'm going to back you. I'm going to be there, and I'll be there 100%. Well, through that journey, I want you to kind of talk about this, because I think it's kind of nice for other people to hear. Maybe they don't know what their kids are feeling, in a sense, because I didn't know that you were already not loving soccer while you were playing it, and at some points of that. So when we came down here, I was excited because there was a few great soccer programs down here that we were able to plug you into and have you try out. And those teams said they would take you on. And at that level, they typically don't take somebody They already have their team that's been growing together. And once in a while, you have someone like in your case, you moved from out of state, and they probably had to fill that hole up there on that team. But that team ended up being in the top 20, 30 in the country from the inception of that team on. So you coming down here and telling me, you said, at first I thought it was because you were angry, right? You were angry. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You were angry. You didn't want to be there. You were up in your room playing video games with your friends up north, and then you tell me you don't want to play soccer no more. And I'm like, Chris, I mean, you probably remember the conversation. I'm like, Chris, if you don't want to play soccer, I'm 100% okay with that, but you're not going to be sitting upstairs playing video games all night. This is probably when you didn't like me that much at that time, but I was like, and you said, and I was very impressed with this because, and I want to hear your side of how that felt when you did it, because down here, middle school didn't start to what? You went in at 9 o'clock or something crazy?
Yeah, like 9:10 it started. It
was late. Where up north, you were 7 o'clock. So you had a little bit of time in the morning, and you said to me, Dad, I don't want to play. This is how bad I don't want to play. I will go with you to your F3 workouts at 5 in the morning. And I said, okay. That's all he had to say is, I'll go with you. I said, you will go with me then. You're going to go with me 3 days a week, and then you'll go on with me on Saturday. I think that, and I want to hear what you feel about that experience, because F3, for those of you that don't know, it's a free workout for men. It's free. It's held outdoors, rain or shine, 6 days a week, and it's a really an awesome community. It's really it's a men's group disguised as a workout, because it's a leadership group, I would say, because you learn how to lead. Even you ran a couple workouts as an 8th grader. You ran a group of men, 20, 30 men into a workout for 45 minutes. And it's led in a rotated fashion where one of the members or packs, we call it, leads the workout. So you were kind of thrown into this mix of men, all adult men, high caliber men, I would think, all that had businesses and, did really well for themselves. So you were kind of thrown into the mix of these men, and you came 3 days a week and you worked out, and I think you would really establish a good base for yourself, because most of the workouts is calisthenic stuff, right? Push-ups, burpees, running. Yeah. So you were able to do stuff that, you weren't really getting in school, those kind of workouts, and then you progressed to it. So kind of walk us through how much you disliked me or liked me or happy, whatever it was at those times in the morning where you were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working out.
For sure. I'm going to start by saying in Massachusetts, I was playing for 3 different soccer leagues at one point in time. And I had 2 practices a day sometimes, and it was just rough. It was a lot. I loved it though. I definitely loved it. Got to play with my friends. Yep. But it just got tiring, and then injuries. Came off a concussion and hip groin flexor tear, and it was just rough, and it was getting banged and bruised up. So after a while, I was just like, how much more can I take of it?
Yeah, I get it.
And after I moved, I was like, I don't really feel like I want to go there anymore and play. Like, I didn't have that drive to play anymore. And when you lose that, you know that you lost it, and you just don't want to keep doing it. But the workouts that F3, those group of men, were awesome, and I had a great time going there and seeing them every morning. It was honestly, I looked forward to it. Yeah. Just the big smile on everybody's faces when we're doing burpees and push-ups. You would never think you would have a good time working out, but I had a great time working out with those guys. And I'm glad that I did it, and I made that transition instead of sticking to something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you killed it. And then obviously when you go into high school, you kind of can't follow through with F3 anymore, because you're going to be in school while we're doing our thing. But then you really started diving into physical fitness. I mean, you guys are looking, he's great shape, and you do it more than anyone else. I mean, I've seen you sacrifice after driving 5-6 hours home from Tallahassee to,
go work.
You had to get to the gym. I'm like, Chris, you could probably take the day off, and you're like, no, I gotta go to the gym, which is awesome. But do you remember back in Toronto? I don't know if you missed this, because I missed this with you. We would run a 5-mile race every year. I think you did that race with me. what, 4 years?
Yeah.
I think you started at when you were 8 or 9. You ran
Yeah.
a 5-mile race. Because you were a beast. Like, I mean, you were like 8, 9 years old. You probably had soccer practice or a game before we ran that race.
Yeah, I had a tournament that weekend before, and we had to run that on Saturday or Sunday.
So it was Monday, so it was
brutal.
Memorial Day every year.
Yeah.
Every year this time, was it? No, Labor Day.
Labor Day, yeah.
Every year, Labor Day. It was a 5-mile, and they had a Heartbreak Hill. And I think I only beat you the first year. I think you beat me every other year after that.
I loved the beginning and the end of a race. Midway through was brutal.
Yeah, because I think you were running those in like 5 miles in like 41 minutes or 40
Something
minutes,
like that.
You were moving. You were moving good. So let's walk me through that. The differences. So I think people would really like to hear what you thought, because Massachusetts has really high rated schools, right? And that was a fear of ours, or most parents, when they move anywhere. It doesn't matter if they're moving here to Florida or another state, they care about the education that their kids are going to get and what are the schools going to be like. Now, I did some research. We were going to go to a couple other places in Florida, but the school systems weren't good. Luckily, we had a good friend, Christy. Christy, if you're watching, thank you for directing us here to Lakewood Ranch. The schools here were very good. Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch had some of the top schools, not only in Florida but in the country, which we'll talk more about. Progress it once we get towards the end. Talk about where you go to college now and that selection process. How that it's a pretty tough process. Walk me through how your school, how you would compare how tough it was, what you liked about up there, what you didn't like up there, what you liked here, and what you didn't like up here as you started going into high school.
So I think middle school classes in Massachusetts are way harder, personally.
Okay.
I thought they were more challenging, and for sure I definitely thought I learned a lot more, and the teachers were better. From moving to, Florida, and I went to Noah Middle School, I wasn't a big fan. Honestly, the school itself wasn't great. And they put me in like basic math and basic English. So I got 96 plus in every class. And honestly, I thought the classes were really easy, kind of like a joke almost to even go to it. But going into high school, Lakewood Ranch, the school itself was pretty difficult, where I found myself I had to, start studying. And because I never really had to study for classes. It kind of came easy to me, but starting to have to study for classes, prepare myself before tests and exams, and even like studying and all that was difficult at first.
Do you think that was because we didn't get you enrolled in time to get the right classes that you should have been enrolled in? Because I think there was a question of when we moved here, because I forgot all about this, so you're telling, so you're saying it right now. I believe you were supposed to be in like a college type classes here. Yeah. And they didn't recognize the college classes you took in Mass. So what happened was they didn't put you in the right class. They put you in the regular classes, which might have been, I mean, looking back at it, even though it was real easy for you, it might have been good because you had a lot of stuff going on in your head at that point. You were already mad and angry. If you would have thrown in difficult classes, that might not, maybe it was really blessing in disguise for the time. I mean, looking back at it, because you were able to kind of transition, get your head right, that 8th grade year, and then go into high school. But in high school, you started with the student government. I think plugging into the right communities in school, how did you find the different groups of school? Because, I mean, in Charlton, there was 2 groups, the cool kids and the cool kids. It was, everybody kind of knew and hung out together. It was the same clan, if you will.
So knowing that there was like 690 kids in my class alone, there was definitely several groups, and it was hard to find just one. I had different friend groups growing up, even at home in Charlton. I had friends that I hang out with outside of school and in school. So in Lakewood Ranch, I had this big friend group at first. It was when I ran cross country. I didn't have that many friends when I first moved, so it was kind of a smaller group. But then it kind of started to branch out, where we started bringing people in, and then we had a huge friend group. So again, like, we don't have smaller friend groups here, but it's like you're friends with everybody. Like, you go around, you can see many people, and you can say, hey, what's up, how you doing? Simple as that.
So how did you like the student government program, or what?
Student government? So I actually started off with Key Club and Lakewood Leaders to start off in NHS. Those were the first 3 clubs that I joined. They were more for like service hours and, you know, just going out helping like food banks and projects and stuff like that. I joined SGA, student government, end of sophomore year, and that's where I met a lot of my tight friends now. Some of my friends that go to University of Florida, FAU, and UCF and things like that. So we do a lot of projects. We set up homecoming and all stuff like that.
Correct. So you got a lot out of that, and then you also you actually did play soccer in high school, and you guys won
soccer.
You guys won the championship, right? That year?
I wanted to give my parents one more year of me playing soccer. I might have not been that great, but it was fun. It was fun.
It was that. I mean, that was one of the things that, I mean, if I look, all right, this is where I can lose it. If I look back, the best times were driving hours, like driving. I can look now and say those are like some of my best times. Was spending the time in the car. We had, I mean, I can't even think that we didn't spend at least an hour to 2 hours a day average in the car driving to practices and games and playing our soundtracks and cranking it up. I mean, those are the best years. So when part of me died when you didn't want to play soccer because not because you weren't playing soccer, but because of that quality time I had.
Quality time.
I mean, and then I got it back with the F3 thing because we were able to be in pain together. So you might have been in pain on the field while I sat on the sideline when we were, in the F3 we were working out together. So those were like the best years of just driving. I mean, I remember now you still play all those same playlists, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I
love those songs.
Yeah, we would crank that music, man, over and over and over and over and over again. And I used to take you. Do you remember me taking you to work, like going to closings with me?
Yeah, sometimes.
And then I would take you, like you came with me everywhere. When we first opened our office, you wouldn't remember this because you were a baby, but we had a pack and play in my office. And we had like 80 people in office, and you'd be tossed around that whole office. So you stuck with us pretty much all day, every day for a long period. And then once you started getting mobile, we had to plug you into somewhere else because you were going to take over the office. But, growing up talk about growing up with 2 self-employed parents in a sense. How is that? What has that instilled anything in you? What have you learned from that? What have you learned what you want to do? What have you learned that you don't want to do from that? Because, I mean, for every pros, there's cons to everything. So I want to hear all sides. There's no judgment.
Yeah, no, it definitely made me look at it like I got to work hard no matter what, whether it's at school, at the gym. And even in high school, I had 2 jobs at one point. I had jobs all 4 years pretty much. Just maybe, work for what I want. And, if I want to buy something nice, I have the money to do it. And
yeah, that's a one thing with you. You don't ask for much. You kind of do your own thing, which I appreciate that, because not that we don't get things for you, but you do a lot of this stuff for yourself, which is awesome, which we really embrace. So now that I'm looking here, let's talk about some of the things that you did stepping out of your comfort zone throughout this move, and some of the opportunities that you've seen that came through your path over your 4 years. I know you did a ton of community service. I mean, one thing that you did, if you remember we used to go to the Ronald McDonald House. We did that 2 or 3 times. We went up there and fed the people, and then COVID happened and kind of took that away from us. But I think you were doing that before you really started doing the other community service. So you kind of had a taste of that. Kind of walk us through some of the things that you did for the community service stuff.
So I love the community service. I love to meet new people, have conversations.
Yeah.
I did a couple food banks where I pass out food to people driving by in cars and stuff like that. It's just kind of heartwarming. You feel good about yourself after, but it's also to meet new people, learn about their struggles, and you get advice like yourself from those people, and what to do from here on out, and what you can improve on yourself, and it kind of just motivates you to keep going.
It does, definitely does. So out of all of them, what was your favorite?
Oh, there's over 400 service hours. There's a lot of
400? I didn't even know that.
400, yeah. There's a lot of service events that I've done. Ronald McDonald was a pretty great one. I love the Hunsader's Farm, where I kind of ran a couple of the game events, and I had a couple of the kids come out to me, and I helped them out, like win prizes and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool itself.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about. I want you to kind of share with, because I don't know what you do when you're away, right? When you go with your friends and what you did in high school. Talk about some of the things that the fun stuff that you were able to do around here in particular, and maybe talk about some of the fun stuff that you did back in Massachusetts. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean,
no, I get
but I mean, seriously, I'm not saying there wasn't anything that was funny. You were younger too, so you couldn't do as much. You didn't have a car. You weren't mobile. Here, there's a lot to do, but just for people listening to kind of know, like, what does a kid do here for fun? Like, where can they go? What can they do through those high school years?
So, yeah, for starters, there's definitely a lot more things to do here in Florida than in Massachusetts. I would say back in Massachusetts, the only thing to do was bowling or the movies, or just, go to your friend's house and maybe shoot hoops or something, but that's really it. But here, I mean, you got options. You can go to the mall, you can go to the beach, you can go to mini golf. You got it's all year round. You can go outside.
Yeah.
You can just do whatever you want. You could go outside, play basketball at night without it being freezing cold.
Wow.
You got gyms that have basketball hoops, swimming pools, hot tubs. You got anything. There's always, new things to do here and new places that are still opening up. So,
what were you and your friends doing? Like, what was some of the one of the things that you did most? Like, was it going to the beach? Was it going to the mall? What was?
I would say on the weekends, definitely going to Siesta Key or Lido. But maybe like freshman and sophomore year, me and my couple of my close friends loved to go to the UTC mall and just, mess around. It was just the good old days. The good old days.
So those were the good old days. So what was that, maybe like your freshman, sophomore year?
Yeah, about freshman, sophomore year, beginning of sophomore.
So as we kind of progressed through the high school years, what was the best part of high school?
Just the memories itself, like looking back at it, waking up at 6:30 a.m. wasn't the best. It wasn't great, but I did it, and I'm glad that I got to go to school. Sitting at the lunch table with my friends was one of the best parts of my day. We all just make jokes, crack jokes, and laugh. Then we all go to LA Fitness after and get your lift. Like, it was the best part of my day, honestly. We all just looked forward to it. Yeah.
Did you have like a favorite teacher that you would say you had a favorite teacher that was influential for you?
Yeah. My SGA teacher senior year, Cuervo, was pretty cool. He was a cool dude.
He instilled some good tips or things. I mean, as you know, I didn't go to really college. I went to community college, so I didn't know all those steps. But
yeah, so I was in a group called Young Life, which is outside of the school, and he was a leader there.
A leader, yeah.
So he actually was the teacher of my SGA class senior year. So it was kind of cool. We had a bond already, and just coming after class, he's like, "Well, I see you at Young Life tonight." I'll be like, "I'll be there." It was just a great friendship that we had, and especially all my friends there in SGA too also went to Young Life, so it was a great time.
And yeah, let me ask. You kind of brought something up because for whatever reason, I didn't have Young Life on my notes, and there's definitely a huge difference between people's beliefs between here and up in the Northeast. I mean, I feel like everybody here is plugged into some kind of a church, and we were really plugged into our church, Lifesong, up in the Northeast. How did Young Life make an impact on you? Because I know you really plugged into that I think at least 3 of your 4 years of high school, you were really plugged into that organization. Kind of tell me, what values did that instill in you, and some of the things that you learned through that experience that you still carry on to today?
So one of my great friends, he kept begging me to come, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to go to that. I never was like one to, go to a small group or anything like that. Personally, it wasn't just my motive to do that. But he kept, installing it into me. He's like, come on, just check this out.
Which friend?
Joseph Velocity.
Okay.
So the first event I went to was called Color Chaos, where we have a bunch of like dye balls and we throw it at each other and get our white shirts covered in dye, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. And I begged you guys to go to the summer camp. I've never been to a summer camp like that. And so I was a week away, and we went to this place called Sharp Top Cove, where I got to actually learn more about the message, hear like great music, and just have a great time with my friends. So it was a great balance between all three, and I loved it. And ever since then, I kept going, and just looked at it as like another family that I could go to if I needed to talk or anything.
Now, how did that help? I mean, other than we would go to church on Sunday and all that stuff, but how did it affect your moral compass and how your lens is looking out outside the world now that you're in college and you're not at home anymore? So I mean, you're kind of you don't have me to keep the guardrails in place. You have to put your own guardrails in place.
No, it definitely installed. It's kind of hard to put into words, but it's just there. And it just helps me keep a straight mind almost always, and just know right from wrong, and sometimes just the best thing you can do. Sometimes it can't always be right, but the best option you could do for other people and yourself. And that's kind of just what it taught me to do, and definitely reach out to new people as well.
Correct. Is that something that you would actually consider doing, like volunteering, when you get free time now, like in?
Oh yeah, I would love to direct a camp or do something like that. That would be great.
Do they have anything up there at FSU for that?
I think they do have a couple things like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, keep me posted if you check that out. Let's kind of walk through the high school, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're transitioning. Now we got to pick colleges. It's you were able to do in Florida. We have a thing called Bright Futures, right? You have to score. I don't know what the scores are. You can maybe fill us in on that. There's different rankings to the scoring. You can get paid. You can pay up to 100% of state school tuition, right? Yep. And it goes down to maybe 25% or something, I'm sure. You were able to lock in 75% of your school paid. Mm-hmm. But I think the amazing thing is, you did well in school. You were on the top end of your class. However, we found out real quick how difficult it is to get into some of these state schools here in Florida, and you chose Florida State University. And as we were kind of going through this journey together as a family, we found out that there was going to be something like 70,000 or so applicants into the school, and they only accept like 6,500. So
something like that, yeah.
I mean, that's like 10% of all the application. That includes in-state, out-of-state. And I believe it was your first pick. You did say you wanted to go to Alabama, and I just laughed at you. I said, that you can go, but you're going to have a lot of debt. If you get someone to pay 75% of your school, you ain't going to Alabama. But, whatever. That, neither here nor there. You had a couple buddies that were going there. Kind of walk me through that process and, your SAT process. I know we got you a tutor. I know some people are good. Some people are really good at school. Some people are really good at tests, and some people aren't really good at tests. I think you were in the middle, because I don't think you did bad on your tests. I think you did okay, but it might not have been your strongest point, and you took the test a few times, which is, at least you went and took it a few times. You could have just took it one and been done, and then wherever the chips fell, they fell. But walk me through the feeling of graduating and investigating the colleges, and kind of take us on the journey that I know Mom went to a few schools with you to check out. But just walk me through that.
So, I remember we had football games on Friday nights, and I had to get up at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning to go take an SAT. Wasn't the best feeling in the world, but I took it probably like 5 or 6 times, And my super score overall was 1230, which was just enough to get to 75%. And that test it's brutal. It's a brutal test. The reading itself is hard. It's more about, time. You got to manage it. And the more I took it, the better I did. But it was definitely not easy. Definitely checked out a lot of schools. A lot of schools were nice. UCF, they just weren't for me. I didn't feel like at home there. And I didn't see myself going there. But I remember going to Florida State junior year in around October, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is like where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I kind of strived for that. And I remember applying for the college, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. The scores are ridiculous. And so I applied for summer to hopefully have a better chance of getting in. And the summer scores were around like a 1270 SAT average, and I was at like a 1220, 1230. And I'm like, oh, there's no way. And the GPA was like a 4.2, and I was at like a 3.95 or something like that, which is still really good competitive scores, just wasn't at a par.
Yeah.
And I think what really got me into Florida State was my extracurricular activities and how I was involved in my school, all the service hours, and just a lot of that. I think my essay itself was pretty good. Wrote about my move, actually, from Boston to Florida.
Yeah.
Wrote about that and how I kind of overcame those struggles. Ultimately, I loved Florida State. I still love it. I love going there. Met a lot of people.
Pre-med, man.
Yeah.
So what is your goals? Like, what do you want to do when as you go through your journey? And it can always change, but right now, where is your head at? What are you thinking you want to do? And
I would love to deal with sports injuries, stuff like that. I would love to be able to help other people get back on the field and, continue playing with the sport they love. And just stuff like that kind of interests me. Just anything to do with the human body, fitness-wise, physical-wise, mentally-wise. I love all that stuff. And I kind of just strive to be better myself each day when it comes to nutrition and all that stuff as well.
Well, you've been meal prepping since you were in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
we were big in it because your brother worked out that 1 year, and you kind of seen it since you were little, kind of seen that progression. You've seen me get up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day for my whole life pretty much in the gym. So you kind of had that. You've seen it your whole life. So you kind of adapted it, and you kind of taken it to your own level, you know, which is great to see. I mean, that's something, you take this for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is you setting yourself up. So right now as pre-med, what is your ultimate goal to get as a degree? Are you looking to be, I know you're looking to go to Italy for a few weeks to shadow some doctors, some more. Is it all ortho doctors?
I wouldn't say it's all ortho. It's probably a couple PAs, physicians. Okay. It's just different fields to see, different specialties.
And that will give you a good flavor.
Yeah. Definitely orthopedics seem interesting to me, like, shoulder injuries and stuff like that. I have a lot of friends that, deal with shoulder injuries and all like that. I'm like, I'm over here. Like, I don't got any shoulder injuries. I don't understand why you can't do this movement. So, I would love to, help people like that and just,
Is it that specific? This is what I've heard because I don't, again.
There's a lot more to it.
But what I mean, what my question is this is, there's orthopedic surgeons that just focus on shoulders, just focus on knees, just focus on certain
hip
body
flexors
types,
and
right?
Stuff. Yeah. A bunch of different injuries. It could be anywhere in the body. Not shoulders specifically. I could be in just to do with sport injuries. There's ones that specialize in sport injuries.
Just sports injuries in general, meaning more muscular? Yeah,
muscular.
Okay.
But either one, bone would be pretty cool too.
Yeah. That's awesome. So walk us through a little bit of Florida State, man. I mean, I know you kind of went there your freshman year. You plugged right in. You joined a fraternity.
Yeah.
Tell us, as we get to wrapping up over the next 15 minutes, walk us through college life, man, here in Florida. Yeah. It seems like, I went to family night and I wanted to go to college.
Yeah.
I was thinking, how can I get back? How can I come here? I mean, I'm willing to pay. But kind of walk us through your experience, your first year. Walk us through your fraternity experience, what you can tell us.
Yeah.
And just kind of like college life and your job. You work. You're getting good grades. You're doing the right thing. So share with us.
So yeah, starting in the summer, I didn't really have that many friends from my school that got in or even went there. I had one or two friends, so we hung out, and that's where I met my roommate. I had a random roommate over the fall, and we kind of hung out, went to the gym, and stuff like that. We went out a couple times. Yeah, FSU is a great school where you want to like meet people. A lot of people are genuine over there, and just definitely, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a lot of cool people and genuine people. And over the fall, I rushed SIG-EP, can't really talk about the process here. It was a great experience though. I got tight with around 70 kids in my pledge class, and I could consider that a brotherhood for sure. And I got tight with a lot of friends that I know they would look after me if I needed them, or if they needed me, I'd be there. And we had a lot of events that we held, a couple functions and stuff like that. We did a couple service acts as well.
You're gonna give us the one you did.
Which one?
I don't know, the one did you get like heartthrob or whatever?
Oh yeah, that was in the spring. So I ran for Alpha Phi's Mr. Heartthrob competition, where I did a dance on stage shirtless to Mamma Mia. That video doesn't have to go anywhere, but yeah, it was
copy of it, guys.
It was definitely an experience for sure. I'd never ever done something like that. I've never stepped out of my comfort zone to go on stage in front of hundreds of girls and my friends as well, watching me shirtless dancing on stage, talking. Like it was definitely an experience for sure, and I'm glad I did it.
And I think what I want to say about that is you your whole life have been more introverted.
Yeah.
You're more, honestly, you're more like how mom is. Mom's more introverted, quiet on the side. And I think over the last few years, you've kind of been coming into your own, doing things that have brought you out of your comfort zone. So I've always wondered, I'm like, man, how does this kid not like me? Like you would come with me to work. You see me on the phone. You would come to my video shoots. I try to get you on my video shoots. And I'm like, why isn't he doing it? And then you go to college and you start really coming out on your own. And actually, I think you can agree or disagree with this. I feel as though a lot of that stuff that you probably seen is coming out of you now, that from my vantage point, what I see, I feel as though you're networking, doing the stuff that you've seen me do on that side of it, more than I've ever seen you do it. So how do you feel? Do you feel there's truth to that?
So I think ever since I moved to Florida, there's been pieces over time starting to come out, and I feel like it's a puzzle almost, where the more I do it, the more I'm like, what do I have to lose? I have everything to gain.
Correct.
And the more I go over it over and over, I mean, I'm always going to have a little bit of nervous feelings, anxiety, but you got to just take a deep breath and just do it. Rip off the Band-Aid and just go for it, and you have nothing to lose. So that's how I kind of look at every situation now. That's just do it.
You just do it, right?
Yeah,
You just
do it.
There was a book on, it's like, I think it's a 3-second rule, and I read this book. I've always had to do it because I've been taking care of myself since I've been like 14, 15 years old. So for me, it was thrown to the fire. Like I had no choice. Now, ultimately, if I probably was brought up different, I probably would have been different too. Like, I think I was forced to be the way that I am because I had to go out and get what I needed. Like it's just like, bam, I'm on. Okay, where am I going to go and get it? Fortunately for you, you didn't technically have to do any of that stuff. I mean, I always encourage you, like, come out of your comfort zone. I mean, one of the things that you have is your TikTok. You have like over 20,000 followers, and it drives me nuts. I wish I had 20,000 followers. Guys, like all this stuff. Follow me. You have 20,000 followers. I think over 100,000 views or likes or something crazy like that, and you don't monetize it. Monetize it. You gotta. So that's one thing. That's my challenge to you today, as we're on this podcast, is challenge yourself to get that thing rocking and monetize it, man. Even if it's to the point where you're getting, your free workout clothes or your free protein, all your stuff for free, where maybe you get paid on it. But I think now that you're kind of doing some of these things, my encouragement to you would be like, okay, since you're stretching yourself, you have a vehicle that's sitting right there in front of you that you've already have, that you could literally stretch yourself a little bit more and maybe monetize it in a good way, in a positive way. And I think you had a lot of good stuff and positive things to give, especially, with everything. I mean, you overcame the move. Your fitness is on point. Like, people can look at that and be encouraged by that. Like, listen, you can get in shape. These are the things you got to do. You're good with, putting your diets together. I think that's mostly was the stuff that you were getting a lot of hits on, is your working out stuff. But in closing, I want to ask you: is there anything that you want to add or say before we kind of wrap this up and put a tiny bow on it?
I'm just definitely grateful for this move itself. Definitely showed me a lot of things and definitely matured over the years for sure. And I keep learning today, so just getting better. And working out itself definitely helps, get me away from all that reality. And I love physical activities and stuff like that. I've always loved that. And just learning every day.
So if you would have any encouraging words for like other people that are moving anywhere in the country, right? They're moving from wherever they are today, right? And they're going to move their family and they have kids and their kids not happy about it because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. All they know is where they live, and it's fair, right? It's fair. That's their reality. Their reality is this. They don't know nothing outside of that reality. What words of advice or encouragement would you give a family being that kid that was kind of, in a sense, at the time, forced to move?
Genuinely, if you're a person that's thinking about moving and it keeps bothering you, I'd just rip off the Band-Aid and do it. Because if it's going to bother you and you're going to stay in the same place, it's only going to keep getting worse. And it's going to keep getting worse only because your child itself is going to keep growing up, getting tighter with their friends. And not the biggest issue, but you're only going to keep waiting. And that's overall going to make it harder. And if you just do it, then you only learn what can happen from there.
And then if you got to move back, you can always move back, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. So what you found by making this move, you believe that your life turned for the better. Was it a good thing for you?
100%.
And out of that, what do you think the best part of it was?
I think I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't move. I think I would turned out a lot different. And
friends come over in high school. These guys were in the gym like every single day.
Oh yeah,
like
we're all competing.
It was like crazy. Like I'm like, these guys are like looking like they're walking into a bathing suit model contest or something. But you find that, was it just through? I mean, obviously the physical piece of it's going to be real down here, just because you're in the summer type weather. You're wearing t-shirts and tank tops and shorts and stuff, so you want to look good. I remember when I lived in Massachusetts, growing up, it was a big deal to get bulked up in the winter. Bulking season, that was a big thing. So it was just a good excuse to eat whatever you wanted and not care about what happened. And then in the springtime, it'd be cutting season, and you do everything to try to kind of yo-yo the weight gain and do all that stuff. Yeah. Where here, I think it's not just talk about here, but here is just kind of a steady pace where you want to kind of be lean and mean and look the best. Yeah. And that's not everybody here, but for the most part, I think people do strive because it's an active environment where you're outside. To your point earlier, you're outside a lot more. There's so much is designed to do outside where unfortunately being in the Northeast, we had to deal with weather. Like, for example, I'm doing these triathlons, and if I were to live up there, it would have been very difficult for me to train just because of weather, right? It would rain a lot. I can't go on my bike in the rain. I can run outside in the rain, but I can't ride my bike 80 miles, 100 miles outside, where here, I mean, other than we got to deal with heat. So that's easy to fix by hydration, right? I just got to drink a lot of water, make sure I'm hydrated. I can bike all day long if I want, and do those things. So you find that this was a great move for you in the sense that you grew as a person, your peer group that you found here. I believe that you would have had a great peer group wherever you were. Yeah. So whether you were up north, the friends that you had up there, you would have stuck with the ones that were striving to be at the top. And I don't know which ones those are because I don't have any connection to who those are. But I'm sure their core group of your buddies from up there. There's a group of them that are doing well. I actually seen one of your buddies, Aces. He's
going to Alabama.
He's at Alabama. Yeah. But I like following him and doing that. Do you have any conversations with anybody in the north?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really talked to many people up in north.
Has it been a while?
It's been a while. Yeah. I feel like we all just kind of went on our own paths, and I think Ace did the same thing. Where I know, like, if I saw Ace now, I feel like we'd still have that bond because he's always been one of my best friends.
Well, you guys, I think you have those friends that you wouldn't miss a beat. You could not see the person for 10, 15 years. The next thing you know is boom.
It's just like that.
How did you feel before we end this? Because we got about 5-10 minutes. How do you feel about the neighborhoods here? Like, did you feel like there was a lot of stuff to do in your neighborhood?
So definitely in Savannah, where I live now, there's definitely a lot more stuff. There's community events that they hold at the amenity center. At first, when we moved to Greenbrook, there wasn't too much to do because it was more like cul-de-sacs and stuff like that. But we were right next to the school too, so we could always go over there and play basketball. Yeah, there's a lot of kids my age at the time. I lived actually right next to one of my friends, so it was awesome.
Yeah. So let me see here. Let me just look at my notes, guys. I want to make sure that I get everything that I wanted to. So I'm going to summarize a couple things. So if you're somebody that's looking to move anywhere and you're held back because your kids don't want to do it, right? We're talking to my kid, and he's encouraging you to take the step, whether it's down here, whether it's in California, wherever it is. If it's going to be a place that's going to better your life, I think it's important for people to know, like, listen, don't stay stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
If you know there's an opportunity or you get an opportunity, whether it's a new job, you get an opportunity to go somewhere else, maybe it's to make more money. Maybe it's not even about money. A lot of times it doesn't have to just be about money. Not everything is about money. It could be about lifestyle. We chose here for lifestyle, and honestly, I just feel also for our faith, this is a better place for where we feel for faith. But if you're that parent that, you know, your kid doesn't want to leave, they're not going to ever want to leave. There's not that many kids that are going to be like, oh, I want to move from my friends. I would encourage you to know that there's another side, there's a brighter side. You know, plug your kids into some good programs at whatever school that you're going to go to. I think for you, I think the student government program was a really big
definitely
key.
A good one.
From my look, though, you could say something different. I mean, I'm your parent, so I'm not with you all day and every day. But out of those experiences, do you think it was like National Honor Society? Where would you say it was?
Definitely student government. National Honor Society wasn't really much. I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't much. But I would still get plugged into it. But student government is where you actually get to, you know, formulate a plan with friends and, you know, create events for your school itself. So, you know, you kind of build a community doing that.
And I think you mentioned it. I think it was a big part of you getting accepted into the school you wanted to go, because there's a lot of times I feel there's kids that do really good and get really good grades, maybe get straight A's, but they don't have any extra curricular activities, that they're not plugged into anything. And I think when in this market, in this day and age, you have to have an edge on everybody. With anywhere you can get an edge, you better get it, because there's a ton of smart kids, right? There's a ton of smart people that get good grades, that can read books and take good tests and do all that stuff. But are you checking those other boxes? So you feel you got into the school that you did, which I don't think is an easy school to get into. I mean, it's probably not the hardest school to get into, but it's definitely not the easiest. You would encourage any kid, whether they're moving or not moving, when they get into those grades, to plug into as much.
Plug into whatever you can, whether it's a sport, a club, outside club as well. Like clubs that are not impacted with your school, you can also plug into. Just anything that could actually, you know, help you, or you can meet new people as well.
Now, did you put Young Life? Was that a group that you put on your college?
I did put that in my college resume. I put Young Life, which is a Christian group.
Kind of run me down, like, what you put on that college application.
Oh, it was a lot, as much as I could. Student government, NHS, Key Club, Lakewood Leaders, varsity track, soccer. I played football, and SGA as well. Young Life, definitely up there. There's like 10 different spots where I try to fill every single one I could. Stampede as well, where I was a vice president in it, where it was kind of for the student section. Just, you know, motivate them, hype them up, where we have celebrations and all that stuff. Do a couple tailgates. Different tailgates from college, but tailgates. But they were fun. Definitely, looking back at it, those sports events were, you know, best part of high school for sure.
What do you miss about high school?
Oh, dude, definitely some of the classes with my friends. Even lunch. Lunch is probably the best part of the day, just because we're all sitting there, we're all making fun of each other, just, busting each other. But it was fun. And then the Friday night games were always fun. Basketball games were fun. Sporting events, I'd recommend to always go to, your sporting events, even if your teams aren't that great. But it's just the time with your friends, watching your friends play a sport, anything like that. Track and field events were also really fun when we went to different schools and stuff like that.
Those were all day. Those are all
day. All day you're sitting in the sun, waiting for my 2 or 3 events.
Which were added up to what, 2 or 3 minutes for the
3 minutes. We're sitting there for 6 to 7 hours, and then maybe a bus ride home that took 2 hours.
Yeah, that's funny because we went from playing soccer that was an hour, to like 8 hours.
Watching me sprint one time around the track after 6 hours.
I remember texting, make sure you text me when I'm an hour out so I can get there.
Yeah.
No,
crazy. Those are definitely the best parts. Young Life itself was also a great part. I looked forward to those on Monday nights, seeing all my friends.
Yeah.
That itself, just get plugged in for sure. Make the most out of your high school experience.
Yeah, so I would look, if you're a parent, wherever you live currently, if you look and see if there's a Young Life in your area, because that was definitely a huge one, I think, for you that really helped you a lot through even a couple hard times in your school. You lost a friend in school. I'm sure that community of people were right there for you. A lot of times us as parents, for whatever reason, you want to get closer to these other people when, because it's your parents, and that's just natural. But to have those other resources and community, if you will, there for you, it's nice to offset it. So I encourage anybody watching, if you have a Young Life in your area, definitely plug your kid into it, because it's definitely a great organization to look at. And to wrap it up, I just want to say thank you, Chris. I know that this probably was, this isn't the most comfortable thing to get on a podcast, but you did awesome, and I appreciate you coming on. And in closing, guys, the Galli Llama will talk with anybody that has something interesting to talk about. So if you guys have something good to talk about, and you're here in the area right now, I'm just doing people here local in the Southwest Florida area. Could be a past client of mine, could be a real estate agent. Really, the whole point of what we do here is to talk about different things in our community here to do, but not necessarily just this community. It can be anywhere in the country, right? We work and I write loans all over the country in 50 states. So our big footprint is the Northeast and down south here. But we do a lot of loans scattered throughout the country as well. We are a mortgage company. So, I might talk as Mortgage Matters with Chris, but it's surrounding that is more about family and homes, right? And where you live and your communities and your neighborhoods. So really, what we like to do is we bring guests on, whether you own a business in this neighborhood or community, and share about your experiences. Maybe you're new to the area. Maybe you've been here a long time and seen a lot of changes here. And we just want to see and hear other people's perspectives on what their journey is. And I think it can be helpful for anyone that's watching, and they can take away something from it and hopefully use it to help their family. So in closing, I think what we can learn from today, and anyone can learn from today, take a chance. If there's an opportunity out there, embrace the opportunity. It's never easy, right? But nothing that's worth it is easy. Anywhere you want to go. If you want to take the easy path, there's usually a different type of price to pay for that path, right? Sometimes easier isn't better. It can be more costly, if you will. So take that chance. If it's your kids in this case that concern you, they're gonna do fine. Trust me. You're a good parent. You're gonna cultivate the right environment for them, and you're gonna keep the blinders on and the guardrails in place so they can find a good community. But don't hesitate to take a chance wherever it is that you have an opportunity to do better for you or your family. I think that's the takeaway. And then when your kids are going to school, pay attention. Like I know I was trying to be as plugged in as much as I could, only because I didn't go to college, but I was always asking other families that I knew did this, where should he go? What organization? The SGA was a big one for us down here. I believe there's student government clubs all over the country.
Yep.
But whatever it is that's relative to that type of a group here, wherever community is, have your kids plug into that, because they'll find friends for life, and it will be advantageous for them if college is the route that they want to go, because they'll have their community service hours. Like you said, 400 community hours. That's a lot of hours to help people, and it's not just about getting those hours, right? To
enjoying
just
it.
to do it, but you're getting something out of it from the other end. You're learning, and you're showing what it is to be a productive human being here on this planet Earth that we live on. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Chris, thank you. Love you more than life itself.
Thank you so much.
And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.